Hello, welcome to Intro to Character Modeling for Production. I'm your instructor, Shannon Thomas, and I've worked in the visual effects and animation industry now for about 10 years on over a dozen major feature films. I want to teach you guys everything there is to learn about modeling in production in the real world environment. I'm going to be taking you all the way through concept art to creating a final character, how you would do it, the installation, the UVs, the naming, all the tips and tricks that I can share with you in this 12-week course. I worked on a lot of different films, like I said, in the last 10 years. I've worked on animated films like Happy Feet, The Adventures of Tintin, and most recently How to Train Your Dragon 2. And I've also worked on some big blockbuster films like Avatar, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and the first Hobbit movie. Okay, enough about me and how I got here. What's this course all about? What are you going to learn? So the main goal of this course is for you to create an appealing character model from start to finish that's production ready. And what I mean by production ready is that it has clean topology that animation and rigging can use, it has proper UVs for surfacing or texturing to paint, and it has a proper naming convention. So the other thing that I want to teach you guys is just this overall, like, how to be successful. So throughout the class I'm going to give you little tips and tricks and just advice that I've learned along the way of how to be successful. So there's no magic trick, it really just boils down to hard work. Like anything else, you have to really work really hard at this to be really good at it. It's like learning an instrument or becoming, a master, a chef, or anything like that. There's a great quote that I heard from Thomas Jefferson that says, "I'm a firm believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it." So it really is that. You just have to work your butt off at becoming really good at this. And you can see the people's work who spent the time to do it, and you can see people's work who haven't spent enough time to learn it. So that's the general breakdown of the class, creating a character and how to be successful in this industry. So let's get a little bit more into it. So we're going to look at the tips of success. So for being a modeler, to be successful, I think you have to be fast, you have to be consistent, you have to be versatile. So being fast is very important because, unfortunately, when you're working in production, it's all about time and money. So Hollywood is obviously, paying the bills, so everything comes down to how fast the films can get out and they can get their product. So you don't want to release your work over budget. Films can't get pushed and it's very bad, they lose money. So it all comes down to getting your work done on time. So you want to be consistent. What do I mean by that? So, not everything that you get to model, unfortunately, is the hero character in the film. Like, there's only one Smaug in The Hobbit, but there's thousands of other assets that have to get built. So you're not going to always be given the cool superhero character to do. Oftentimes you're going to be given a prop or clothing or something else that's going to be maybe in the background or, as you would think, not as important. But in order to build your reputation, you want to be consistent in that your work looks great, whether it's a rock, a tree, a character, an apple, whatever it is that you're modeling, make that look like the best apple that they've ever seen, because your job as the modeler is to create that. So another skill is to be versatile. And what I mean by that is not just being able to model a boot or a character, but you also want to be able to do hard surface modeling, you want to be able to do stylized characters, you want to be able to do realistic characters, and you also want to learn how to do different software packages, because some studios use certain programs, other studios use others. Some studios don't care what you use, but you really want to use a lot of different software packages so that you're always staying current, relevant to what's out there in the industry. One of the other goals of this class is using anatomy to create an appealing character. So appealing characters are easy to recognize because as soon as you see them, you're like, wow, I'm really drawn to that. Disney's done this extremely well with Big Hero 6. There's a ton of appealing characters. DreamWorks has a lot of appealing characters in their films. But you'll see sometimes straight-to-home DVD films where the characters may or may not be as appealing. And we're going to take a look at some examples of this and what may make these not so appealing. And I'm going to try to help you using anatomy and form and silhouette to make your characters read more appealing. So another thing I want to go over this class is reference material. So I have a really great reference library that I've built over the last few years, and I think it's extremely important so that whenever you're called upon to do something that you may not be familiar with, it's all about gathering reference for it. So I'm going to show you some of the anatomy books that I use a lot and refer back to, as well as some of the other tools that I use in my reference library. So I'm going to help you guys build up your library yourself. So another goal of this class is going to be learning about the production pipeline. More importantly, where does modeling fit into this whole thing? From original story all the way to final image, modeling actually ties in a lot of different ways and plays a lot of different roles early in development, in the middle of production, and even at the end. In addition to wanting to work with you, these guys have to be able to take your work on with minimal errors. So I'm going to show you how to check your work for common errors so that it doesn't come back, and that whenever you send your model off to be rigged, they're happy, they get what they want, and they don't have to send it back to you for corrections. And one other goal of this course that I want to teach you guys is how to handle criticism. Okay, before we jump into Maya, I just wanted to show you the course syllabus so you get an understanding of the entire course outline of what we're going to be doing. So this is week 1, so what we're going to be doing is obviously the introduction of the class, and just shortly we're going to jump into Maya and look at my hotkeys and preferences and settings and how to set up your marking menus and do all that kind of stuff. We're also going to look at a few examples of characters, ones that are more appealing and I think more successful than others, and then this is going to lead to your homework for week 1. And then in week 2 we're going to start blocking out the actual model. So you're going to pick your character, whatever you want to do in week 1, and then in week 2 I'm going to block out Ray and show you different ways that you can do that. You can either use cube modeling, you can use Z-spheres, and you can also start from a model like in Mudbox or something of an existing model that may match similar to what you're ultimately going to be building. In week 3, we're going to start revising the model a little bit more. Just like Clay, we're going to add a little bit more resolution, start doing secondary forms, looking more at the silhouette and the shape language of your character. In week 4, we're going to model clothing. I'm going to show you some techniques to work with folds and how to do shoes or hat, whatever your character may have, props, things like that. That's when we'll look at that in week 4. Week 5, we're going to model hands. So hands are really tricky to get the hang of. I think that, like with drawing and sculpting, hands, there's so many things going on in such a small area. But I'll show you some techniques that I've found to simplify things and make hands a little bit more easier for you to do. So in week 6, we're going to start on sculpting the head and the face. We're going to look at techniques that you can use to make your character match your reference a little bit easier, or you can make it more appealing, things that you can do in the eyes and the mouth, just some tricky areas that I'll help you with. Then in week 7, we're going to present our model for dailies. So it'll be our first time that we'll be presenting it to our art director, our supervisor. So I'll show you how to present your model as if you were going to be showing it that day in rounds. So in week 8, we're going to do notes and revisions. So we will have gotten notes back from our model that we had showed to our supervisor in rounds or dailies, and I'm going to show you how to address those notes. We can work, spend more time on areas that maybe we haven't gotten to spend enough time on, and also go over those toggling techniques that I had showed you or talked about before when presenting your work on how to do the A-B toggle. And then in week 9, we're going to prepare the model for install. We're going to assume that our model was approved. We can still be working on it, in the class. You guys can still be working on it, but I'm going to go forward and start working on topology, UVs, and naming, and that's when we'll do like the cleaning up of the model. I'll show you different things that you may, some things that you may want to check for to make sure that your model is clean, so that whenever you are installing it, it's all set up for rigging or for texturing, and there's no errors. In week 10, I'm going to show you some techniques to pose your model. This should be pretty fun. We can use ZBrush, or we can use Mudbox, or we can just use Maya, and I'll show you how to pose your model into maybe matching your reference more. Actually, at DreamWorks, we model our hero characters in pose, and then we after we get them approved, we actually T-pose them. That's the standard of the T-pose that most other studios use. And then in week 11, we're going to cover blend shapes. We're going to try to do a smile and a blink, and also create a variant of your character. So if your character is a boy, we'll make your character into a girl, or vice versa. If they're really strong and muscular, maybe we'll make them obese, or something that we can do. I'll show you how, using the same topology, you can create different versions of your character. Week 9, 10, and 11, we'll see how we're doing with time. There may be some things that we might have to move around a little bit. Topology and UVing could maybe take a little bit longer than we need for the full class, so we'll see how that goes. So those weeks may fluctuate just a little bit. And then we just have week 12, which is our review. So we're just going to recap everything that we learned in the class, go over any additional questions that you guys have. If we have any additional time, then we can delve into whatever else you guys want to learn. So that's going to be the syllabus for our class. Let's do it!